Welcome to the Archispeak podcast, and today we are joined by Helena. And you tell me, how do you pronounce your name in the true Swedish, Helena?
Helena Savelin is I pronounce it in Swedish, yes.
We wouldn't have gotten that.
I would not have pronounced it correctly, so thank you for taking that on. And maybe you can start off by telling us about your studio and the type of work that you do.
Oh, yeah. So, Tilbury Design, it's an old company. It's a 60-year celebration we have. And we are working with a big cruise ship, and that is maybe we could call what we have done from the beginning. It has been with Robert Tilbury that started it a long time ago. During the years, and we have followed the market, of course, and the change that has happened, it has been a little bit more yacht-like cruise ship the last couple of, let's say, almost 10 years coming in different way. You could call it hotel yachts, residential yachts, and also people want to have a private apartment on board. So we can see that change has also come the last couple of years. So the industry had changed a little bit, but cruise ship is what we have done: exterior design, interior design, master planning. So we are very advanced when it comes to the cruise ship design and can actually tailor-made it for the client. We also have, the last couple of years, we bought two companies, Talia Marine, that is naval architect, and together with them we are having this competence in our company today with engineering. So that is very beneficial.
So can you give us an idea of your background?
So my background, I'm started as an FF&E designer 30 years back, putting together the materials, working in the team, of course, meeting the clients, was participating in the yard meetings. So all that has been, of course, growing, with all that means as an FF&E designer, but it's mainly putting together, making it colorful, let's say, the design with everything from carpets to furnitures and all that. And during the year we were growing. I become a mentor, taking, let's say, educating our new employees, FF&E people that was coming in. We were growing quite dramatic from 2000, let's say 13, 14, 15 up to 19. We were growing quite a lot. So then I become a little bit more mentoring also. And then from 2018, I was more looking into the business director. So today I'm a little bit more business director, having my clients, working close to them, and also have a team that I'm working very close to and make sure that we are following the guidelines from the clients. And also looking into the sustainability. Sustainability has become a very big part of the design today. So I'm looking into the sustainability in the cruise industry as well.
One of the things that I kind of noticed as I was doing a little bit of research on your company is you have a lot of designers that come from a variety of different backgrounds: architecture, interior design, FF&E. Wow. And how does we've had in the past a lot of discussion with other people who followed non-linear kind of like design paths to different aspects of design, whether it's going into product design or architecture, interior designers and things like that. How does the background of, say, an FF&E designer or interior designer architect lead to cruise ship and yacht design? I mean, I could see a parallel, but it just seems like an interesting kind of like pathway to get to that area. And I'm just kind of curious, not saying that maybe I should send my resume, but,
All the people is educated architects or interior designers. And of course, as you say, the education is for the land-based industry in the first case. But you have to learn, basically, and you have the experience you need to have experience to be the marine interior designer. there is not really any education for that, what I understand. So you have to
Right.
actually learning by doing. So when we were growing dramatically, as I said, well, from let's say around 2015 and onwards, we did what we call an ABC internal education. So everybody had this on-board education to learn what is marine industry, what is everything that is necessary. We had a very good program, we can call it, with our most experienced people that were helping our new employed architects to actually understand the difference between a land-based to a marine interior design, because there's so many requirements, fire requirements, health and care, and many other things that we have to just understand. And yeah, that is super important to have this.
Do you feel like there was a hard learning curve between kind of like land-based design to marine-based design?
Yes, somehow. Well, when it comes to the regulation, we have the Norska Veritas, and well, yeah, it is a lot of it is a big difference actually. But
Okay.
we have always had experienced people in the company, and they have stayed here for more than 30 years, many of them. So we always have this group of people that has a possibility to learn. And of course, when you have learned, then it's, yeah, like bicycling almost.
Yeah.
But anyway, it has a certain regulations. And of course, there are also some new regulation is happening sometimes, so you have to learn them as well. But we know what source to go and look for, and the yard is always also up to date, of course. So it's an, let's say, changing experience and education between the yard and us. So yeah, it's important.
Cormac, have you ever been on a cruise ship before?
Not to the scale of some of the things that that their company does. I was looking at a lot of their project types, and I'm like, wow, I'm missing out.
Yeah, I mean it's different,
Yeah.
and I think that's what's
It
so
is.
attractive about it, right? It's very different,
Yes.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's about space. It's about
Right.
creating experiences, but also like in this self-contained thing it's like a city on water to some extent, right? Where it has to be fully self-sufficient, fully functional, and can only really rely upon itself. And I think that's what's so interesting about it as a category that's different from the normal architectural projects. But also, I'm curious, Helena, what has changed? Because, I mean, obviously there's maybe more of a luxury aspect to it now. It's gotten a lot higher design. And also you mentioned sustainability, but what else have you noticed has really changed? Because I would say like the cruise ships that I've been on, the first one was when I was 12 years old. And then during my honeymoon, my wife and I went on an Alaskan cruise. And I mean, I would very much say that the U.S. cruise lines that we were on, which are not the luxury high-end things, are like a casino on the water for the most part, right? Like it's very,
Yeah.
it feels very Vegas, where it's like, it's really trying to be eye candy. It's focused on a few programmatic pieces, like, you know, there's obviously a lot of selling going on these kinds of
Yeah.
cruise ships where they're trying to get you to buy their jewelry and their art, and there's the casino, and then there's the spa experiences and things
Right,
like that.
right.
So I'm curious what you've seen shift over the years as you've gotten more and more into the world that you're in.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, today you can divide it in the large cruise ship, mid-size, and then the small. And it's about 1/3 of each, if you look into how many cruise ships there are out there today. So, of course, the largest cruise ship, I mean, well, first of all, the cruise ship has grown in size
Yes.
extremely.
My son is an aficionado, and he
Yeah.
can't, because he all the way back to the Titanic. I mean, he studies the Titanic, and he talked about, you know, a couple of years about the Icon of the Seas, which is this mega insanely huge cruise ship. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, today we can see these super large cruise ship for more than 5,000 passengers, and
Wow.
well, it's even more. It's 8,000 to some of them. But anyway, it's like a city, as you say, and there that is for one type of passengers that want to be have full activity. So still that trend is ongoing, but it is one type of passengers that enjoy that most. And then we can see the mid-size has become, it's always been that. I think it was more the mid-size cruise ship, well, and smaller in the beginning, of course, when the cruise industry started 60 years back. But I would say mid-size is coming back a little bit. People enjoy that size when you have connection to the ocean a little bit more, and you feel you are actually on board somewhere. But what we definitely can see is the luxury segment has been growing. When I started 30 years back, it was like you made almost like a coulisse. It was extremely colorful, and you could feel it was a big difference to go on a cruise ship compared to go to a hotel. I could see the trend has become, the design is a little bit more like a hotel-like trend on board today to the mid-size and the luxury segment. And we can also see how the indoor-outdoor areas is connected to each other. You have this big window, sliding open doors. You have almost like a living room on the outdoor areas. So it's connected, indoor-outdoor is more connected as a living room. So that trend has become quite a lot. People want to have this luxury, let's say, barefoot luxury, as we call it. Where you can just have a layback style, sophisticated layback style.
So how do you, because it's kind of interesting, people go on a cruise because they want to have that connection to the water, the ocean, and things like that. But as the trend starts to shift a little bit more towards feeling like you're on a hotel, now you're on a floating hotel, how do you still maintain kind of that magic or that essence of being on the water, but then also providing those high luxuries of, say, the 5-star hotel and things like that?
Well, you can see when it comes to the luxury, it's also about the number of crew, you could say, almost, how the attention from the crew. And you can give, let's say, the drink is coming directly when they're ordering it. And people also want to travel a little bit more seamless. Everything is prepared. You almost have this red carpet when you're walking wherever. And everything is very smoothly transitioned to all parts. So I would say that is also one important thing when it comes to the luxury segments especially. So I think the different size of cruises is a little bit different kind of directions. When it's a bigger cruise ship, they're going out to their own islands. Usually they have an own island in the cruise ship. So they go out there and spend a few days or one day or whatever, and they can go back into a port. But when you have this mid-size, you also have another kind of fuel, especially to the sustainability today. You maybe have a hybrid fuel. So you can stay to these hidden gems a little bit more. People want to find these hidden gems a little bit more than there was in the past. They want to tell their friends back home that, wow, have you seen this? This is something new. You have never been there. And today with this sustainable cruise ship that is coming a little bit more and more with another, let's say, green methanol or whatever, they have a green fuel system. They are able to stay to another destination a little bit longer, maybe 2 days instead. And that is something new that is coming.
I would love to hear a little bit about that. I don't know, it's kind of bragging rights, I guess, where people want to talk about these really exquisite and exclusive places that they've been that they can only access. But also social media has really played a big role in this. And that's where a lot of people are getting exposed to the idea of these things. So I mean, it's interesting to me how all of this kind of goes hand in hand. You can see how these threads connect throughout modern media and advertising landscape. I'm sure the companies who are offering all of this are really big players in that market as far as social media and things as well. I mean, can you just touch on that part of it? Because I'm sure that's driving a lot of the cruise industry. because of that.
Yes, the social media definitely is important. People is looking at the social media and look at beautiful places and want to go there. So that is let's say, the destination is a little bit a wow factor, actually, for those who can go there. And that is the mid-size and the smaller cruise brands, that are, the cruise sizes, that is able to find these hidden gems. But I also, at the same time, I have to say, it is a demographic shift with the generations. You have the older generation that is a little bit more family oriented. They want to travel with a family, and yeah, you have the baby boomers and all that, and millennials. But you also see the people with the luxury that want to find, because they want to tick off what they have seen on the social media and want to tick off their boxes and go to these special parts. And you can also see the other hand is the people that has been, let's say, on a cruise ship as a child. They want to do the same thing with their children, because they know how fun they had on board on the cruise ship. So they want to make sure that their own children will have the same experience that they had. So you can see it's this type of different type of passengers, and they're choosing a little bit different types of cruise ships because of that. But the social media, anyhow, for coming back to that again, it is important, definitely.
You mentioned these new sustainable, greener cruise ships, and fuel, and even locations, I think, are basically only allowing certain, like what you're talking about, those kinds of cruise ships to even get to them, along with the rise of ecotourism, right? There's a big desire for people to travel and see these things, but do it in a way that's eco-friendly to get there and leave a small carbon footprint to do so. I'm sure all of these things are kind of tied together as well, but I would love to hear more about that trend in the industry and actually how it's working its way into the spatial design and the things that you're working on with FF&E and layouts and all of those kinds of things.
Sustainability definitely is reshaping the cruise industry with all the EU pollutions taxes that is coming, port-free, navigation limits, and it's a lot of things that's happening. And we follow, of course, EU Commission's regulation. What has been the biggest impact when it comes to is the fuel, the technical water systems, and also the shore power, and many other things, more technical related things has been, and the speed, for not to mention that speed and how the hull shape is. So all that has been maybe the things that the cruise industry had tried to change the last years to make sure they can meet the goal until 2050. But first you have the 2030, the 55 package, as they call it. By 55%, they have to reduce the carbon. So technical-wise, it has been a lot of things ongoing. When it comes from our part that is working also with the interior design, we work in both exterior but also interior part design. We also try to follow the R9 strategies, that is to refuse basically, or rethink and reduce. Refuse to work with suppliers that doesn't work with eco-friendly materials as much as possible, or work with those who has the right certification. You could call it that instead. It sounds more positive, which is quite a lot today. You can find a lot of good materials that is coming more and more. So yes, definitely a lot of things is happening when it comes to sustainability, and the EU Commission is pushing the cruise industry to become greener.
If I can ask a little bit more on that. So obviously sustainability is something that is important to your company. As architectural projects, it's kind of forefront for us, and what we tend to do is, when we can convince the client to come along on the ride with us, is it will shape and guide all of our decisions for, as you were saying, product types and things like that. I mean, do you find yourself, I think you said yes, and so this is probably a little redundant, but refusing to work with certain manufacturers who you may have like this long history with them, but you said, well, you're not really conforming to the new standards, we've got to move on. But I mean, we tend to change products all the time. We're always looking and researching newer and newer products that help us reduce our carbon footprint. And I'm just kind of assuming or asking, do you basically do the same thing where you're looking for additional products to help inform your design when you're really focused on sustainability?
First of all, we have a good dialogue with the client. We can see how the interest of sustainability has come more and more. And of course, in the first case, it's more the technical related, fuel, speed, hull shape, shore power, technical water system. All that is the most important and had the highest impact. So when it comes to interior design, it's different there, I would say. So we have few clients they want to be green as much as possible all the way through. But we also have clients, they say they want to maybe, the interior part maybe is not to prioritize because they have done everything else in the right order. So we have to follow the client, of course, and we have to make sure that the design will be good and according to the client's need. But we are trying to support them and suggest, what about, should we go for, let's say, a carpet that is as green as possible, and we can give them that. We have few brands and qualities that we can say, this is a better alternative than that one. So what about, should we go for that instead? Because we know that it's about 70,000 to 100,000 square meter carpet on board, and it replaces every 5th year or something. So it's a lot of impact. So if you, let's say, go for a good carpet quality, same with mattresses, that is maybe 10,000 mattresses on board if you go to crew and passengers. So if we can find one that has a take-back system, or it's a green built, green quality, whatever, I think the client would say, yes, why not? It sounds good. But we try to balance that depending on who the client is, of course. To say refuse is a too big word, I would say.
Right. I understand.
So we would say we suggest and, take it from there.
Let me ask one more question on this. So you've done your initial design, your initial installation, you've made that product selection. One of the things that we also talk about with our clients are, we understand that 5, 10, 15 years down the road, there's going to be a renovation as part of that. And so part of our dialogue with them, especially when it comes to sustainability, is making those choices for recyclable materials, early on. Is that conversations that you all are having as well?
Definitely. And that is, for me, a little bit I'm really working hard to find this, let's say, stakeholders that is buying waste and sell it further to someone else. So you can find this, let's say, circular. And I'm a little bit, I think I have found a partner right now is in another industry that might be able to look into some parts, not everything, of course, because it is like a big city, what we have specified. But what we also try to suggest as for our clients, and they know it already, is the high long-lasting qualities. Go for a little bit higher quality to loose furnitures, so you can repair it and reupholster it much easier. We know back legs will break probably after 1 year. So let's order just new back legs instead of a new entire chair. So then you don't go for the raw material for a new chair, and you have thousands of furniture on board, right? So that the modular thinking is what we are trying to advise the client. And yeah.
I'm still trying to get my son from leaning back in his chair at the dinner table.
Exactly. You see?
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I was just going to echo that a little bit, Evan, is the fact that a lot of times our clients, and Helena, I can almost imagine that yours is probably tenfold worse than ours, is trying to design around human nature. Here you have essentially a 5,000, 8,000 person floating city that then is just cycling through the people throughout the year. And just like when we're designing dormitories for a university, we're trying to design the maintenance-free kind of thing, which we know is not something that exists, but something that at least is friendly enough that we have that kind of like life cycle to be able to support that modular flexibility is interesting
Exactly.
because of the concept that we know we're going to have to fix something. What kind of investment do we want to make, kind of thing? Because so often than not, the situation that we've gotten ourselves into kind of globally is, oh, it's broken, let's throw it away and replace it.
Exactly. It hurts. It hurts,
It
right?
does. It does.
But yeah, so I'm really hope that there will be this possibility, because I know in the hotel industry, there is a little bit, let's say, a trend. There is some hotel brands that are making this going for recycling. They buy old chairs and refurbish them, and they make a thing about it. But the cruise maybe is not really there yet. Maybe one area here and there, but not totally. But as long as we can go for long-lasting design, high quality, easier to refurbish, and modular design, I think we are in a big step. If that will be possible, and it will be possible, definitely, it will come.
I love that. I have a question about, you mentioned kind of the living room extending through glass doors to an outdoor balcony. That's not my experience on a cruise ship. I get the inner cheap cabin with no windows, right? And I mean, there's tiers in cruise ships, right? There's pricing tiers, and there's also experience tiers based on that. And the way that I've always viewed it, I mean, just is like, I'm just sleeping in my room. I'm going to do everything else outside of the room. But I think what you're explaining is a very different philosophy. Like, people who go on these mid-sized cruise ships, there's a lot more seclusion from your neighbors. They want the experience, like a private experience. And I'm curious if you could explain in more detail just like what these suites are like, and this blending of indoor and outdoor, and how that's being accomplished. Because I think what's also interesting, depending on the location, you could spend a lot of time outdoors, and you might want to do that with just you and your partner, or with you and your family, versus the entire population of a cruise ship, being out at the pool, for example. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about like the intimate space design of a suite, that actually, like, what's going on there from a design perspective?
When it comes, that is more the luxury segment. The luxury segment where you have bigger suites, two-room suites. You have room service, of course. You can have it otherwise as well, but they might go more for the room service and eat in the room and have enjoy the day basically on your balcony and all that. That type of cruise is, of course, a little bit more expensive. You are also having the destination that is also important. So the design should cover all the comfort that you need in that the big suite. If you compare it with let's say the larger cruise ships, where they have quite smaller room, they want to people spend their money basically on the public areas. Because there is actually where the cruise brands make the profit. And those ships is maybe not costly to go on in the first case. It's more. So they have a different, let's say, focus on, or what you can call it, approach to who is the cruise type, and what you can do basically on board. But I would say also come to the luxury segment, what we talked about is indoor-outdoor areas. That is also to the public rooms. The public rooms could be like a living room, where you can also sit and have a nice view. You can socialize with other people. You still have good space enough that you can feel your own, let's say, corner. But you also have this kind of living room outdoor. There you can have these climate controls, basically. So that type of cruise brands or cruise ships, they are a little bit more like hotel look, where you have the barefoot luxury, what we call it, a little bit more,
So in
layback.
these outdoor spaces, can you talk about the ways that you're making those comfortable for people? Because it seems like you're going to be going to all kinds of remote destinations, and you've got different environmental things to deal with. So what kinds of things are you specifying to make it comfortable for people? Because I assume that it's a lot like the hospitality
Oh, yeah.
industry, but it has its own set of kind of environmental factors that are going to make it different.
Yeah, I mean, many of these cruise ships is going both to colder and warmer destinations. They are spending time outdoor. There you definitely have the heaters to make it comfortable. And today when you have this automation technology is a wow big trend also. And to not, let's say, make it more efficient, it's automated what turns on, what is turning off, and when you have people on the right place. So let's say heaters is definitely one thing that we should put in these outdoor spaces, so people can feel comfortable and sit outdoor and having a good time, let's say. Also for the outdoor dining thing there.
One of the things that it sounds like, as you're kind of talking about these more luxury spaces, are you're kind of designing a familiarity, something that like, okay, I'm used to this in this type of amenities and things that for the hotels that I visit. I'd like to still have that kind of similar feeling on a cruise ship, but also still have that kind of connection to, as you said earlier, connection to the water, connection to the places that you're visiting, but also still feel very familiar and very comfortable with kind of your new surroundings. Does that seem about? Yeah.
Definitely. And when it comes to this luxury, I would say many of this luxury segment is many times a cruise brand, hotel, resort. We are doing for Four Seasons right now. We did the Ritz-Carlton's Evrima, the first yacht series they did. So, of course, the hotel brands should have, and let's say, you should feel connected because you have the passengers or the people that is going to these hotels, they want to go to this kind of hotel resort yacht as well. So you should feel connected and some similarities and the home away feeling.
So you're not sacrificing the quality of the hotel when you go onto the cruise ship. So you don't have like what Evan had, the windowless internal cabin.
That's just because I was cheap.
Should not go. No, true. It's important. I mean, we definitely. I mean, that is of course a challenge to make everyone should have the best spot, but definitely to have an understanding of how to make the best design. I mean, the ship is of course you have always this kind of different kind of corners that is more challenging, but you have to work around it basically. But yeah, it's important.
I'm curious from an aesthetic point of view, as designers of these spaces, you've got indoor spaces, you've got outdoor spaces, you've got private spaces, shared spaces. Scandinavia is known for a certain design aesthetic. And I'm just curious, because my experience was very Las Vegas-like on the water with the cruise ships that I've been on. And then I've seen, the Viking cruise lines, and I've seen some of these images that you have on your website. It's a very kind of different aesthetic. And so when it comes to kind of trends in aesthetics, but also functionality, and we think about social media and the kinds of images people are sharing, I'm just curious from a maybe architectural and interior design trends, what you're seeing happen in the space that you're working in.
We try to also understand the client's need. That is very important. But what is very important for our, let's say, design we're doing, it needs to have a functionality. It needs to work. It needs to be practical also in one way. But aesthetics is super important. And it might be that our design is a little bit this kind of Scandinavian touch to it. It's quite clean. It's quite easy to read. We want to use as natural materials as possible, and the connection should be smart. We also look into the technical devices that makes smart technology coming in also in the functions. That makes it easy for the passengers. It should you should just enjoy the life on board. So all that is an important part in the design, to have the aesthetics together with the functionality, and of course a little bit of twist somewhere that makes it a little bit like a fun thing that is coming in, rememberable design somehow.
So as Evan was kind of rattling off some of the kind of potentially design constraints, let's call it, how does your design aesthetics sensibilities pair up and marry to, because you started to mention the client. We know that a lot of times you'd be beholden to kind of a branding of those, but how do you work with your client to understand their branding, but then also stay true to your own kind of design ethos?
Well, it's kind of relationship you build up with the client, and it's important to interview and learn the client. Who are they? What do they want? What are their challenges they have had on board in the past? What can we do with change to help them to make it a little bit better? So we try to also look to the history and learn from, well, depending on what kind of crews or passengers they have on board. But it's definitely to listen in and understand clients' need and to get to know them as much as possible. But also at the same time, we're doing the different steps with mood boards, we're doing conceptual boards, and all through the steps, you have to present the storytelling behind why we choose to go this direction, why we suggest, well, whatever design we're doing, how important it is with that and that function. And sometimes the clients like it a lot and say, wow, yeah, we thought everything. We need it. So it depends on the client, of course. And we have also clients that has a very good knowledge about it by themselves, and they know exactly what they need. So it is a give and take, definitely. But it's very wonderful to work with clients where you have this kind of close relationship and you build it up somehow.
Yeah, I agree. Those are, probably some of the more rewarding ones, where you have that kind of like symbiotic relationship where you understand them, they understand you, and are willing to work with each other to kind of really excel the design versus kind of more, I hope you don't have any of these, but more confrontational type atmospheres. Like, no, this is exactly what I want. You're like, all right, kind of
No.
situations.
Exactly. No, it doesn't work like that, I would say. And no, exactly. It is super important to listen to each other and build it up. And also, since we're doing it in different steps, the client they can see a little bit what's happening during the design process until the delivery. But when they have agreed on, let's say, the design, the visual, and all the story around it, then the hard work is to work with the yard. Because they are sitting with the budget and the cost, and they might probably say, this is too costly, this is not possible. And then we have to double check with the client, is it something we can lower this, but we keep that, whatever. And sometimes, it is, you have to play around it.
So I have this question, because obviously we deal with this a lot in our industry on the land-based side of the design, where a lot of times we will have late process changes because you're dealing with so much on the engineering side, where it is so strict to it's got to fit the design of this floating hotel.
Yeah.
How do you experience changes like that? Like, do you? I was hoping no.
I mean, that is, we usually say never miss a deadline. That is, we are working definitely towards the goal to always keep on track on the deadlines that it has been set by the yard. But it happens that the client suddenly wants to change the concept or new direction and something. It is, of course, demanding, and so definitely tough times. It can be very tough times. We just have to understand what is the purpose, and of course we try to adapt according to that.
I was hoping some industry out there actually might
right.
hold
No
to
way.
No way. Well, I kind of have a final topic for us to wrap up around, and that is amenity spaces and the kinds of amenities that are going into cruise ships. Again, my experience is very limited in this, and I mentioned a few of them that have experienced before, but I'm curious what the trends are. I mean, obviously, it sounds like there's a bigger trend towards outdoor amenity spaces and things like that. Maybe you can just talk through the kinds of things that you're seeing happen on cruise ship design and in the later cruise ships that are coming out now.
Definitely the outdoor area. So as we spoke about earlier, the living room feeling, that has been for a while, the hotel feeling. But I would say wellness, spa and wellness. That trend with health and care has been also very, very big for a while. And we can see how that is growing. But people doesn't just want to have massage. They want to have body screening. They want to have a real, someone that is really can tell you what is your health and what you need to do. And it has to be a truth worth wording what they are, what experienced people on board. So the health and wellness is big, and people want to stay active at the same time. They want to play pickleball or something. So, and then we can see, I would say eco-friendly. People also want to have, the destination is also a trend, of course. And some want to have digital detoxing. They want to stay, go in your mind, yoga, but that is also connected to their health and wellness. But it is different types of, I think we touched on it earlier about the age of the group who we are looking into, because some is more entertainment driven, what we call the millenniums, for example, and they want to be more socialized and meet people also at the same time. And then we have the more family oriented passengers, where that is very important, of course. But otherwise, I would say technology, eco-friendly, health and care, if you just look at like trends.
And as far as like the trend line of growth of this industry, can you maybe talk about that? Because you've mentioned it earlier, like this is, your firm experienced a lot of growth from, I think you said 2015 to 2019, right? It sounds like there was a big boom in the industry. What's the current trend line in the industry right now?
Yeah, obviously COVID make everything stopped for a while. And of course, no one knew what will happen now. But today is the market up running 100%. The cruise, what we understand from the cruise brands, they are telling us they are at the same numbers of passengers as before COVID. So definitely, and we can see it's more than all the shipyards is fully booked until 2035, I think, 2036.
Building ships.
So they're building new ships again, and many are going bigger, cruise brands. And we can see it's basically all of them. It's also mid-size that is growing. But definitely the cruise industry is growing a lot, and we can also see how this type of people that was used to be there as kid, they want to go with their family today. So it's still growing. That will come new passengers. It has a very positive development, or what do you call the cruise industry. They can see it's still growing.
Nice.
About 10% every year.
Okay, nice. I wanted to kind of wrap up with that, because I think, for our audience, if you're interested in learning more about this, there's room in this space, right? Like this is a tangent, I think, career-wise to quote unquote, building architecture, but still very related, very applicable to the education of an architect to get involved in this. And it's super interesting to me. I think it sounds really cool. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and teach us about this industry and the potential for architecture and design and interior design and FF&E and all of the things that are in the life of an architect, but applying it to the marine industry. This has been very educational and interesting. So thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you guys. Thank you.